important for me to have a platform to express myself. I am a Black woman in America, and I come from a very personal and very specific POV and opinion. I want to have a place where people like me can give you another perspective, and then you figure out what you want. All the time on Kevin Hart's LOL Radio.
To listen to Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio, activate your subscription now by calling 844-711-8800 or head over to SiriusXM.com to sign up quickly.
With the SiriusXM Platinum VIP plan, you can unlock the ultimate listening experience in up to 2 cars and stream anywhere with 2 app logins. Enjoy our greatest content, opportunities for live VIP experiences, and prioritized customer care. Plus, get access to over 5,000 audio and video concert recordings through nugs.net. Call 844-711-8800 and become a VIP. Offer details apply. Not available in Canada.
Most informed player in your fantasy football league by listening to the experts on Fantasy Sports Radio.
I want to thank you guys for making me a better fantasy player.
Hear player rankings, position breakdowns, and expert drafts.
There is no bigger value today than Dak Prescott.
Going deep down the right side, down the man, caught, touchdown Cowboys.
The road to a fantasy football championship begins with Fantasy Sports Radio. Channel 87 in the car and on the all-new SiriusXM app.
To hear SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, activate your subscription now by calling 844-711-8800 or head over to SiriusXM.com to sign up quickly.
Deadpool and Wolverine have their own SiriusXM channel. This is called Press. You have to promote your movie. Deadpool and Wolverine in theaters July 26th. So jump in for some wild music, hardly any sarcasm.
Okay, guys, let's get out there and make a difference.
And an irresponsible amount of... Deadpool and Wolverine Radio. Now for a limited time exclusively in the SiriusXM app. Search Deadpool and Wolverine.
Due to rise of trap.
Let's go, man.
Nothing but the hip-hop bangers that define the first 2 decades of the millennium. Flex 2K, Channel 49, and the SiriusXM app.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, that's nice. You gotta get this. You gotta get this.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at EquityZoneMortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you, as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast.
Grande Deportes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe. According to me and people who love the universe, and that would include you. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Shut up, fool. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I know, but as I said, be careful who you vote for, because I was voted neighborhood watch person, and I'm trying to bring the people together at 3 o'clock in the morning, and some people don't appreciate it. And that's my problem. You voted for me. You should have read my qualifications. I was a movie star, and now you want me to be the neighborhood watch person? Be careful. If the glove don't fit, you must have quit. I think I read that 2 Live Crew saying about that back in the day. I want to say what a beautiful Thursday, July 25th, 2024. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers. Home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them sit ya where the good Lord split you. And hopefully the good Lord don't split you too wide, because that's why we need to loosen that belt buckle, if that makes sense to you. There's too many fast food places all over the universe. And now everybody got a white buckle. I don't know what they put in that food, but it's probably not that good for us. I want to say I produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows. I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter in our lives. I know I could use more laughter. The commercials are done. The stats are provided. There's storytelling. I even do the play-by-play runners on first and third. That counts for the pitch. Curveball. Swung on. Here, T. Left field. Back to the wall. All right. Say hello to my little friends. I love seeing the girls love the long ball. And men love to hit deep for some reason. They don't want to bunt. And then the show's uploaded to 29 podcast platforms out of New York City. And they're streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. And number 10, I never missed a show. I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about practice. I never missed a show. Now we got guys missing practice. But you do what you got to do, because everybody has a busy life. And in this world, I just pray that everybody finds what they're looking for. And sometimes we don't find what we're looking for, but you got to keep pressing through. You got to keep pressing through. Don't quit. Anybody can quit. And I want to say I don't want to quit the Veterans Crisis Hotline, because they really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. It's not just for veterans. Call us sometime. I've tried it myself. If you know anybody going through issues, saying thank you for your service is great. But give them a phone number, 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give them some praise, because we all need somebody to lean on. And it's nice when somebody's leaning back. Sometimes you want someone to lean back, and sometimes they don't want to lean back, but that's okay. You got to keep marching forward. Always go forward. I want to say what I do love about Big C Sports Podcast. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. And just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations at last. Reparations at last. Thank God Almighty. Reparations at last. And then God said, let there be light. Because we got to get the reparations to come through like a shining star at night. You got to get the reparations to come through. I really do appreciate that. I got to talk about some of the Olympics today, because the Olympics are the opening ceremonies on Friday in Dimder Hills, France, if that makes sense to you. And they're going to go down the river for the first time in the history of the Olympics. They will not have it in a stadium. They will actually have the opening ceremonies outside in a river. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream. Hopefully they'll have success with the Olympics. That's my story, and I'm taking with it. I love saying some things about college football also. Got some college football always hot on the topic this time of the year. They can't wait to get all that free labor, except for the guys that have the NIL contract. But I will also talk about NIL when I talk about the California Reparations Task Force, because of mine truly is a terrible thing to waste. I had this moment. It's called an epiphany. What's an epiphany, Big C? It's a moment of intuitive insight. I told you I went to a meeting over the weekend, and they were chanting. There's a Buddhist chant that I learned about 22 years ago, and sometimes things come true and sometimes they don't. Well, I'm going to keep trying this thing. I'm on a 30-day mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, and to boldly go where no man is going before. Milad is right. I learned to chant this Buddhist chant, and I hope I say it right. One of the most significant attributes of Nichiren Buddhism is its easily accessible practice of chanting. Namen Yoho Renge Yo, Namen Yoho Renge Yo, Namen Yoho Renge Yo. A profound yet simple method of Buddhist practice is the perfect Buddhist teaching for the modern world. Now that has nothing to do with being anti-religious. I believe in praying, and all the times I've grown up being taught, give God praise. It's all praise, whatever it is. I'm willing to try whatever it takes to get to that quantum leap because I want to have a quantum leap in my life. I don't want to just pray for the sake of praying. I don't want to turn on the light switch and the light don't turn on. I don't want to turn on the fan and the fan doesn't turn on. I want to have things I can depend on, like my relationship with the Almighty God of the universe. I'm not worried about people. A lot of times people just want to take and take and take and take and take. Life is about giving and receiving. But there's a lot of times people just want to take and take and take. And you got to realize, is it beneficial, mutually beneficial? Because sometimes they'll just take and take and take. And oftentimes in the world of real estate, there are times when people call you, they want their loan, they want it done now, they want it done fast, and you do everything you can to get them what they want, and then they say we gonna consider something else. And that's part of life. You gotta count on yourself. And that's what I love about business. I know people are going through issues. I got people all over the universe that are talking about issues. I was on One Gong Show this morning, and people are just talking about things that they have to, you gotta fix your issues. There is a letter called the Willie Lynch letter, and you can Google it, and sometimes people say, oh, Big C, that letter ain't real. That letter ain't real in my best English. At the same time, I think that a lot of it is real. I really do. But I want to do the best I can to be the best that I can be, and you can't please everybody. Sometimes you can't even please yourself, but I'm going to do the best I can to please people. Sometimes I'm told, Big C, you talk too fast. I said too fast. So I tried to slow down what I'm saying so that the people that criticize me for talking too fast, enough! And then I get people tell me, Big C, you talk too slow. I said too slow? And then I try to talk fast. I realize you can't say the right thing to the wrong person. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person. Man, that is strike. All you can do is do the best you can. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I have an infomercial I've been working on, and I hope I'm trying to improve it. You got to pay attention because it's going to be a quiz at the end that says a guide to protect, preserve, and transfer wealth. Resource Development Consulting, Inc., in conjunction with the law office of Scott Thibodeau and the office of attorney George Jones, the missing link, long-term care, solutions by the book, over 3 decades of experience, helping seniors get their benefits, Medicare and You, taking care of tomorrow. In California, it's called Medi-Cal. In other places, it's called Medicaid. Your family and spouse can avoid the spend down for nursing home costs. You can find out your options, 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624. Our promise to you, specialized to navigate and maximize long-term care benefits, protection of your assets without a spend down. All paperwork and communication with all government agencies are handled by our staff of entitlement specialists. You ever feel entitled to something? An ongoing consultant to provide updates as necessary. Benefits covering skilled nursing facilities, prescription medications, medical equipment costs, and more. Have you ever known anyone to deal with skilled nursing facilities? Have you ever known anyone to deal with medical prescriptions? You know, like the ones you took this morning? Have you ever known anyone to deal with medical equipment costs? And more. Not only that, protection of your assets, if that makes sense to you. Including your home, thereby allowing you to leave a legacy for your family. I said many, many times before, I'm a Trekkie. I believe in Star Trek. And I also love Star Wars. Well, I'm on the USS Enterprise on a 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, and to boldly go where no man has gone before. May lightning strike! And so they entered into the galaxy. It was Spock, Captain James T. Kirk, and also Scotty. They were aboard the USS Starship Enterprise, and they came into this strange new world, and they saw this shiny black planet, a black planet, and they told themselves, build the wall, don't let them in. And that, I'm mixing the presidential election, build the wall. And Spock said, there is no wall in space, Captain Kirk. He said, no, raise the shields. He said, why raise the shields? It's just a shiny black planet. He said, raise the shields. And they said, Captain Kirk, why do you want to raise the shields? There are no shields in space. He said, the ones on the USS Starship Enterprise. They said, why? It's just a shiny black planet. And just as they said that, the shiny black planet said, do not raise your shields. Scotty, Spock, Captain James T. Kirk, this is a command from Starfleet. the Starfleet Command says, do not raise your shields. And they said, it's just a black planet. How does a planet talk? And how do you know our names? And they said, how do you know our names, Black Planet? And he said, because my name is Darth Vader. My name is Darth Vader, and I'm giving you orders from Starfleet Command. Do not raise your shields. And Captain Kirk said, Scotty, raise the shields. And Scotty said, but Captain, he's Starfleet Command said don't. And then at that time, Darth Vader said, I am your father. Do not raise those shields. And Captain Kirk said, you're not my dad. And Spock said, you don't sound like my dad. And Scotty said, yeah, how you say you're my dad? My daddy left me a long time ago. He said, do not raise those shields. I am your father. I'm using the Force. I want you to join the dark side. They said, what's the dark side? The dark side is when you have infinite power, where you can control all of the minds all over the universe. Join the dark side. And Captain Kirk said, Scotty, raise the shields on the audio goodbye. And Scotty said, well, I do want a dad, Captain Kirk. He said, he's not your daddy, Scotty, raise the shields. And Darth Vader said, do not raise those shields, Scotty. I am your father. I married your mama long ago in a galaxy far, far away. And Spock said, well, Captain, it makes sense. And Captain said, Spock, are the audio walking by? Raise the shields. And just as they raised the shields, the Death Star was about to fire on the USS Starship Enterprise. But they got out of warp speed. They let these strike. They got out of harm's way. And they lived to see another day. I think I'm auditioning for Star Trek 29 or Star Wars 24. No matter what it is, in a galaxy far, far away, they raise the shields and they get out of dodge. Well, we ask you to raise your shields. That's what asset protection is. Because if the USS Starship Enterprise didn't have asset protection, it would have been devoured by the Death Star. But they raise the shields, and that's what you can do too. It's raise your shields. If you're a business owner, avoiding the nightmare of debt brought by the government's estate recovery program called probate. Believe me, they say lower your shields. That's what happens at the probate court. They say lower your shields, please, because they want to kill, steal, and destroy. They will take between 10 to 40% of your assets. But if you have your shields up, you have asset protection. They love when you don't have a trust with your business owners. Avoid the estate recovery program with a trust, a one-time processing fee versus monthly insurance premiums for the rest of your life. Not only that, I'm not done yet. What does a trust do? It provides protection. Insurance coverage required by law, general liability, workers' compensation, lawyers specializing in living trust, Medicaid or Medi-Cal planning for long-term care, avoid probate, life insurance, veterans benefits, aid and attendance, pre-planning, and avoid the look-back period. A trust protects your fixed assets. Your bank account, your checking account, your savings account, your money market account, your certificates of deposit, life insurance with cash values, your fixed indexed annuities. It also protects your variable assets. Scotty, raise the shields! Your real estate, qualified money, IRAs, 401ks, and other investments. Scotty, are you out of your Vulcan mind? Raise the shields! If you have a trust, it also helps you avoid capital gains. Let's say you buy a house for $100,000. And 1 year later, it appreciates to $1 million. According to some real estate brokers, they will say what they have to say to get the sale. That's a $900,000 capital gain. You avoid that if your property is in a trust. Attention business owners. I said attention business owners. Attention business owners. Over 3 decades of experience. Think about this. You can find out your other options to protect what your insurance does not cover. 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. And when you do that, you gotta understand that's what we bring with the RDC team. Well, why would we trust you, Dixie? Why would we trust me? Or do you want to trust Darth Vader? You know who tells you not to have a shield? Darth Vader says do not have a shield. Do not have a trust. That makes no sense. But we give you our endorsement. We have the endorsements of George Jones, attorney, Esquire, the chairman of the California Black Chamber of Commerce, also California Black Chamber of Commerce Foundation. Also, we have Mr. Attorney Scott Thibodeau, one of the top estate planners in Northern California. We have Mr. Leon Woods, Resource Development Consulting with the RDC team. Also works with many of the top lobbyists in California. We have Miss Cheryl Brown. She's the chair of the California Commission on Aging. She endorses the RDC team. But not only that, we have Mr. Ray De La Cruz, the CEO of Resource Development Consulting, been doing this thing over 34 years. Not only that, we have Mr. Alex De La Cruz, American Veterans Benefits, the founder. And not only that, we have some great endorsements from the late James Gomez, who advised 4 governors in California nursing homes and served on Golden One's board of directors. Not only that, the late Jim Gomez, the CEO of California Association of Health Facilities, 21 years doing his thing. That's important. We have the late Robert Carlson, who also was the top legal mind of CalPERS for California. He endorsed the RDC team. That's important. But not only that, we have Charlton Curry, co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project. I endorse the RDC team. Not only that, the owner of Big C Sports Podcast, heard all over the universe. But not only that, consultant for the RDC team. And I can give that praise. But not only that, I'm not done yet. We have Double O, payout committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. Not only that, has our own economics awareness talk show called Let's Eat. You can Google it on Access Sacramento. But not only that, also consultant for the RDC team. And we tell you, just like in Star Trek, you gotta raise the shields. You gotta have a trust. Get that some praise. Get that some praise. You gotta have a trust. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I want to say some things too about Big C Sports Podcast because I'm big on reparations. I know that a mind is a terrible thing to waste, and a lot of times, if you don't have a trust, you might be wasting your mind. I have so many people that I want to get help from and give help to, and some people say, Big C, why you talk so much about reparations? I was interviewed by the Associated Press, Janie Hart. It was back in March 29, 2023. It was after a reparations task force. Now, of all the people in the universe that spoke at the reparations rally, this is how God does things. I went to my car to check on the parking meter, and I heard ring, ring. I said, hello? She said, is this Charlton Curry? I said, yes, it is. How can I help you? She said, this is Janie Hart, the Associated Press. I said, how'd you get my number? She said, oh, we have our ways. I said, well, how can I help you? She said, I heard you speak at a California Reparations Task Force meetings, and I wanted to get your thoughts. I said, if you heard me speak, you know my thoughts. Reparations now, reparations forever. You know, she printed that in the paper. The Associated Press went all over the world. It was picked up by CBS News, NBC News, ABC News, and Fox News. You can Google it. She also, ironically, in that same story was President Joe Biden, Vice President, soon-to-be President-elect Kamala Harris, and also California Governor Gavin Newsom. But I was doing the reparations push for about 5 years now. Why she called me, I don't know. But I do know I've been doing that push for reparations. And I want to make sure that I keep doing that push. Everybody doesn't have to agree with it. But I want to make sure that I do whatever I can to make sure that it happens. Because it's good people, you people, that will make reparations happen in this country. I want to take the time to pay homage to the California Reparations Task Force because a mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Well, therapy is a great place for listening and being understood, but the answer lies in coaching because it takes action, measurement, and accountability to build your self-worth. And when you build your self-worth, you can create healthy, intimate relationships that last. Absolutely. You can build self-worth. As a matter of fact, the only way to get self-worth is to build it. Unlike net worth, somebody can give you money and you'll have a high net worth, but nobody can give you self-worth. You have to earn it. It starts off with healing codependency and becoming truly independent for the first time. I have over 25 years of coaching CEOs, pro athletes, executives, and leaders on how to increase their self-worth using health and fitness. And time again, it boils down to codependency. If they can release it, they go up. If they don't, their self-worth is capped. There's a lot of information out there that's going to overwhelm you and confuse you. And the last thing you need is another diet or doctor telling you that you have another disorder. What you need is a lifestyle coach that can guide you down the path of true independence. Most of us have flown on a plane before, and the flight attendant tells you that in case of an emergency, place the oxygen mask on yourself first. Being value-centered is ignoring the wisdom and placing the mask on someone else first, which increases the chance that you will pass out and place the burden on your family. Being principle-centered is listening to the wisdom and placing the mask on yourself first, which will allow you to continue to take care of others. Now I'm going to set you up to succeed. Now I know you're still on the fence, so here's just a few of the hundreds of players who've had amazing results.
There's so many breakthroughs that I have experienced in this program. The biggest one is that I've learned to love myself. A love for self
that I never knew I needed, because I looked at everybody else to love me versus the way that I needed to love me.
My biggest breakthrough has been loving myself. I mean, frankly, I didn't realize how much judgment I had about myself and how that self-judgment was affecting basically everything in my life.
When you think about taking care of yourself, the push for reparations is real. I want you to hear this coaching that I'm going through and think about one of the greatest speakers ever to talk about reparations. It's about the person within. Listen with your own ears.
Martin Luther King, we had a conversation a couple days ago about handouts and how these right-wing memes, these Republican memes, have infiltrated the Democratic debate to suggest that, ending welfare as we know it, all those kind of things are somehow, great and noble things, when we're not dealing with the underlying problem, which is that there's no economic opportunity there because of insane trade policies and because of Reaganomics. And Martin Luther King spoke to this. Jim and Shane, this is clip number 4. Martin Luther King spoke to this sometime back in the early 60s. And I thought this was a really interesting quote. Here he is.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. This is what we are faced with, and this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
From his speech, The Two Nations of Black America, and it's absolutely brilliant. And the next time some white person talks about, well, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps and my family did too, especially the Bundy boys. I mean, here's Martin Luther King, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., talking about how basically whites stole the West from the Indians with the complete, and didn't just steal it, murdered them, he murdered the Indians in the process, and did not give any of these benefits to African Americans for 100 years in this country. It's a strong case for reparations or some variation on it, for rebuilding our cities, for doing right after having done wrong for so many centuries. It is a very, very strong case for that.
Reparations now, reparations forever. I love saying that. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I do want to take the time to talk about the California Reparations Task Force, and I think that Big C Sports is the only sports show in the universe that even talks about that they exist. If you don't talk about how it exists, then how can people carry it forward? I want to say this because I want to do some things that are important, and it's important to me because it's bigger than me. It is bigger than you. Just like the coach that I'm studying says, you got to take care of yourself first. You got to take care of yourself first, or you can't help anybody else. That's a fact. There's a time that you just got to do that. I want to give praise to the California Reparations Task Force before we get to the Olympics, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. I want to thank the inimitable Dr. Shirley Weber, the Secretary of the State of California. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to California Governor Gavin Newsom. I love giving them praise. They mandated the California Reparations Task Force. I want to give praise to Attorney Camila Moore. She's the chair. I love giving her praise. She's a specialist. when it comes to reparative justice. She also photobombed some of my cameras when I was at the Reparations Task Force rally. Camila Moore, we got to get you on the Big C Sports Podcast. Do not be afraid. I will strengthen you. Be not afraid. Come on the Big C Sports Podcast. And I really love giving her praise. I'm going to give praise to Dr. Amy C. Brown, the Vice Chair. He's been on the Big C Sports Podcast. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to the number one senator in the history of the universe, California Senator Stephen Bradford. He sponsored name, image, and likeness. You see a lot of college student athletes get paid on their name, image, and likeness. He also crafted the Ebony Alert that helps law enforcement put the same amount of resources in the finding missing black children as the Amber Alert does in finding missing white children. He's like Moses in Exodus 10, where God was talking to Moses, and God told Moses, he said, go down into Egypt and tell Pharaoh to let my people go. And God said, well, who do I tell him sent me? And God said, tell him I am sent you. And he did that. And Senator Bradford was the same thing when God told Senator Bradford, God told Senator Bradford, he said, go down into the state capitol and tell the Senate to pass reparations. And Senator Bradford said to God, well, who do I tell him sent me? And God said, tell him I am sent you. And then he did it. He also did the same thing with the Assembly. And I really do love giving him praise. Met him several times at his office and also at Reparations Task Force meetings. I want to give praise to Councilmember Monica Montgomery Stepp. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Shell Grills. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. She specializes in diversity, equity, and inclusion that a lot of the good old boys from Project 2025, they want to do away with that. I want to give praise to Dr. Javon Scott Lewis, professor at California Berkeley. Love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Attorney Donald K. Tamaki, part of the California Reparations Task Force. I love giving him praise as he also, his family members received reparations from the internment camps that California did that were unjust. And so I love giving them all praise. I said give them all praise, praise, praise. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I want to get into something that I think it makes a lot of sense before I get into the talk about the Olympics, because I love doing Big C Sports Podcast. Imagine all of us that want to have a quantum leap in life, and I'm trying to. Nam yo renge yo, nam yo renge yo, nam yo renge yo. You gotta have, there's 6 steps to help with the quantum leap in reality. My coach has been telling me this because I got to have a major breakthrough now. Forget all you have been through. Forget all you've been taught. I don't know if I agree with that. You can't forget everything you've been taught. Learn to observe without reacting. We got to pause and we got to think before we react. I walk away from trouble. I don't want to have arguments with nobody. Number 3, we got to master the direction of your attention. May lightning strike. We got to master the direction of our attention. Number 4, we got to be immovable and single-minded, like a laser beam. The lightning strike. Got to have the laser beam focus. And number 5, don't worry about the how and when. Just believe. If we have faith the size of the grain of a mustard seed, we can move mountains. That's in Matthew 17:20. I keep trying to move these mountains. And then number 6, we got to live in the now. So many times I find myself thinking about what I should have had, what I should have done, what should have been, why didn't something happen, why did it happen. I'm grateful that it happened. No matter what it is, we got to have that focus. That's what I'm learning for myself. And again, everybody has their own teaching. What I want to do with the Big C Sports Podcast, I don't just want to be a sports show about who won a game. I refuse to do that. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. But I want to also say that the Olympics are here, and if people want to know how do they watch the Olympic Games, well, the opening ceremony is supposed to be a lot different than anything we've ever seen. They're going to have boats and cast members rehearse on the River Seine for the opening ceremony of Paris 2024 Olympic Games. And now they're saying that Paris 2024 will truly feature an Olympics opening ceremony like no other. And some of the things we need to know how to watch the opening ceremony. Well, the opening ceremony for the Paris Summer Games begins at 7:30 p.m. local time, where I'm in California, and 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. So that's 10:30 p.m. on the West Coast. On Friday, July 26th, as the first boats are going to depart from the Austerlitz Bridge, it will be available to view in the United States on NBC, and will also be streaming on Peacock, a unique festival on the water for the first time in the Summer Games history. It will be held outside of a stadium. Instead, athletes, they're going to parade down the city's famous River Seine on boats, or some people call the Seine River on boats, going east to west through the city. Some 10,500 athletes on 94 boats is going to be ferried down a 6-kilometer, roughly 3.7 miles route that ends in front of the famous Trocadero opposite the Eiffel Tower, where the rest of the opening ceremony shows will take place, such as the lightning. Let me get that right. Such as the lightning of the Olympic Calderon, and the official opening speech from French President, if I don't sneeze, Emmanuel Macron. I want to make sure that I get these allergies taken care of. But that's important for the people that want to watch the great Olympic ceremony. The boats will pass some of Paris' most iconic landmarks, including the Louvre and also Notre Dame. Each boat will also have a camera on board so viewers can feel as if they're amongst the action with their favorite athletes. And the nation with bigger athletes and delegations will have their own boats, while those with a smaller number of athletes will have to share. And then there'll be 80 big screens up across the city, strategically placed, the speakers, organizers said, to allow as many fans as possible to watch the event. It says, fortunately for organizers, hundreds of dancers that were threatening to disrupt the opening ceremony over the pay have called up the strike. And then after reaching an agreement with Paris in 2024, according to the union. Now, some 220 dancers, they stopped the rehearsal along the banks of the river to protest the inequalities in pay and housing conditions between the dancers. It's amazing how Paris now wants to fix it up to make everybody happy so they can have a great Olympics. A representative for the union previously told media that the ceremony was in danger. In total, there would be 400 dancers involved and dancers on every bridge along the route. And the French theater director and actor Thomas Jolly is leading the opening ceremony and said earlier this year that he wants to showcase all of France's culture. He was overwhelmed at first. He wondered how he could create a show where everybody can feel represented as part of this great union. May lightning strike! I hope we have a great Olympics. I hope that people can really see the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat as people get along and try to do that human spirit that we all have. We got to show it. It's okay to agree and disagree. It's the thrill of victory. It's the agony of defeat. But at the end of the day, we all want to get along and enjoy the great ceremony of the Olympics. I would love that they would say, let's talk about reparations, because we know that Haiti also was in debt to France, and there are people who want to push that under the carpet. I would say the United Nations says that reparations are necessary. We should say that it's necessary to talk about it at the Olympics. We ended apartheid because the world, at one time, it turned its back. They stopped turning their back. And now we have the ending of apartheid that happened some 2 decades ago. And it's the same thing when it comes to the United States of America. It's a great country, but we can't keep running from the past. It's time to embrace it and time to repair the past. That's what I want to do with Basic Sports Podcast. I want to bring some thought to it. I'm not on an island when I talk about it. I want to do the best I can to make sure we all reach out in that shining vessel called the United States of America, that we can reach out to people all over the world and say, let's do the right thing. The Statue of Liberty says, give it your tired, you're poor. But the United States government, in 1862, the Homestead Act, it gave white people only, white men and white Europeans, over 300 million acres of land. All they have to do is live on it. According to Einstein, compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. They told black Americans no. You'll see black Americans dominate the Olympics and people of color from all over the world. You'll see that. But also, we got to get real about how to be fair, egalitarian. That's why I love Big C Sports Podcast. It's not because I'm egotistical. I want to give you the facts. Google the JUST Act and realize that we deserve reparations too. We deserve that. Just like the United States Department of Justice, it enforced and endorsed the JUST Act to help Germany pay reparations to descendants of Holocaust. And we give that praise. No one's marching against it. No one's shouting it down. We give praise to descendants, the Japanese Americans who were interned in the internment camps. We give it praise. Now they've worked together as a community to create great business. The Native Americans got their reparations through these casinos called these reservations. Now it's time for descendants of child of slavery. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. It's always the right time to do the right thing. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as you know, the Olympics is great, and a lot of people want to be a part of the Olympics, and there's nothing wrong with that. I want to do my part with Big C Sports to support the United States, whether it's Team USA for NBA basketball. I really do appreciate that. And everybody has their own thoughts and their own opinions about who's going to win a game when it comes to the Olympic competition. To me, I'm more of a track and field guy. I love seeing the sprints. There's nothing wrong with that. I love watching how fast and strong and athletic our athletes are all throughout the world, going back to Jesse Owens in the Berlin Olympics, where he made even Hitler come down and want to shake his hand. Everybody has their own thoughts about who's going to win. I know Team USA, the biggest competition for basketball would be Canada, and some people think that Canada, will they win a gold? I don't think so. I think it's going to be about the USA. So after the sports fans all over the world are going to be getting ready for the Olympics in Paris, France, their official kickoff tomorrow, there will be plenty of drama and intrigue in Paris. The men's basketball is one sport that the United States should be able to dominate, but the Americans are not the only ones with multiple NBA stars on their rosters, and I believe that Canada may be the country that has the best chance to topple the United States in the pursuit of the gold medal. Do you believe in miracles? That's not going to happen. The United States is going to win. After all, it is a roster that includes the likes of Oklahoma City Thunder, the great star Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the Denver Nuggets point guard Jamal Murray, and Golden State Warriors wingman Andrew Wiggins. Considered this is a sneak preview of the type of athleticism you're going to see in the Olympics when it comes to NBA basketball. But no matter what you think about sports, the NBA is a global sport now. And people from all over the world, they love it. And the NBA is the biggest sport. Of course, when it comes to basketball, National Basketball Association, it could be called World Basketball Association because so many great players, they come from outside the United States now. And no matter what it is, you can still root for your team. United States of America, as we chant, USA! 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 Nothing wrong with that. And I can't wait for the start of the Olympics in Paris in 2024. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Runners on first and third. The count's full. The pitch curveball. Swung on. In deep. Left field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friends. I love saying the girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Major League Baseball, the Players Union reportedly reached a deal. They reached a deal. That's a big deal. No pun intended. They reached a big deal because it's important to subsidize lost TV revenue. What that could mean for the team's payrolls, and what would that mean if Oakland decided to stay in Oakland as opposed to go to Sacramento? So Major League Baseball and the Major League Baseball Association, they have agreed to a significant change to the collective bargaining agreement that will redirect some of that money collected through the competitive balance tax called the CBT to teams losing local television revenue. That would include the Oakland A's. The reports, The Athletic, the arrangement is in place for 1 year, and that's a good start, and the union believes it will increase spending on players. We believe this agreement should positively affect the player market by softening the impact of revenue declines, by increasing the number of clubs who have money to spend, and by undermining the ability of clubs to weaponize recent developments in markets. Now, Major League Baseball Players Association, 9 teams cut payroll this past offseason. What? 9 teams? Yeah, 9 teams cut the payroll this past offseason. And there's a lot of uncertainty regarding local television revenue, and they frequently cited Diamond Sports Group, which operates the Valley Sports Regional Networks, is going through bankruptcy proceedings. Their 12 teams are still broadcasting on Valley Sports Networks, down from 14 at the start of 2023. Now, you think that Major League Baseball should not have problems because they make so much money. But projections this year put the CBT revenue in the $150 million range. And under the new agreement, half will be distributed to teams that lose local television revenue. Those teams will receive, whichever is lower, $15 million, or the amount of revenue lost. That money would be redistributed at the discretion of Commissioner Bob Manfred. Now, for people that say that's a good thing, why not do the same thing for reparations? Why not take that $14 trillion wealth gap that was created by slavery from 1619 to 1865, and then the Homestead Act from 1862 that gave over 300 million acres of land to white people, and do the same thing for descendants of child slavery? Fill in the gap. Which teams could receive CBT money within the last 15 months? The Arizona Diamondbacks, the Colorado Rockies, San Diego Padres. They were dropped by the local network and had their broadcast taken over by Major League Baseball. The Padres and Diamondbacks were with Valley Sports, and the Rockies with AT&T Sports Network. Major League Baseball guaranteed those teams at least 80% of the revenue that they were set to receive through their original contract. A lot like reparations. What if the United States government had the decency to say, for all the lost revenue that was stolen, not just by Freedmen's Bank in 1865, but also by the government not compensated descendants of child slavery? What if that money can be created in an annuity to pay out those descendants of child slavery that never got the money? You see, the money was earned, but it was not paid. It was stolen. The United States government allowed slavery, and they never paid the black slave workers. Not a slave in God's eyes, but the draconian rule that dominated America called slavery. And here they are at baseball saying they want to raise the revenue for those who were not making the money to even the opportunity of those who made the money. And they do it with baseball. Most baseball stadiums are built on government money. Think about that when they say, we don't want our tax dollars to go to some reparations. They're giving government money and state money to build baseball stadiums. And now TV revenue is down for some clubs and Major League Baseball itself. They're saying they want to guarantee those teams at least 80% of the revenue they were set to receive through their original contract. It stands to reason those 3 teams are in line to receive CBT money, like reparations. Think about that. When they didn't make enough money, Major League Baseball said, let's come in and fill in the gap. That's what reparations is all about, filling that gap of money that was stolen. But unlike slavery, baseball, they weren't lynching people. They weren't murdering people. They weren't selling off men, women, and children. They weren't doing that. They were just losing revenue. And the good old boys in Major League Baseball, that's approved by Congress, to come on and have profit sharing, to take those who make the most and share it with those who make the least. Isn't that what reparation is? Isn't that what the Just Act is for descendants of Holocaust? Do the same thing for descendants of child slavery. The Atlanta Braves, Cincinnati Reds, Cleveland Guardians, Detroit Tigers, the Kansas City Royals, Los Angeles Angels, Miami Marlins, Milwaukee Brewers, Minnesota Twins, the St. Louis Cardinals, Tampa Bay Rays, Texas Rangers. They are the remaining 12 teams on Valley Sports, though not all reduced payroll this past offseason or had their television deals altered. The Seattle Mariners and AT&T Sportsnet team also operated with limited financial flexibility. Over the wintertime, these teams could also be in line to receive CBT money. Again, this is only speculation. Which teams will pay CBT money? A lot like reparations. The CBT threshold is $237 million this season. According to Fangraphs, a whopping 9 teams are over the threshold. Last year, a record 8 teams paid CBT. And there's some 9 teams over the threshold this season, and they want to help out. The New York Mets, $340 million. Los Angeles Dodgers, $326 million. The New York Yankees, $313 million. The Atlanta Braves, $273 million. The Philadelphia Phillies, $261 million. The Houston Astros, $256 million. The San Francisco Giants, $253 million. The Texas Rangers, $249 million. And the Toronto Blue Jays, $247 million. So the CBT penalties, they escalate. A team that did not pay CBT last year, like the Astros, paid 20% tax on the first $20 million over the $237 million threshold. And then the next $20 million is taxed at 32%. The next $20 million after that is taxed at 62.5%. And then everything else after that is taxed at 80%. A team paying CBT for the third straight year, like the Mets, has the highest tax rate of 50%, 62%, 95%, and then 110%. The fourth CBT tier is a so-called Steve Cohen tax. So Major League Baseball Players Association projects $150 million in CBT payments this year, down from a record-smashing $210 million last year. Keep that in mind, prior to last season, the CBT record was $76 million. In 2022, only half of that projected $150 million. That's a lot of money. It's going to be distributed to local teams in their television revenue. Essentially, the teams with the highest payroll in the sport will help subsidize teams losing TV money. It should be noted that payroll for CBT purposes is important. It's calculated using the average annual value of contracts, not the player's actual salary. For example, a player on a 2-year, $20 million contract that pays him $8 million in 2024 and $12 million in 2025 counts as $10 million in both years. Now, when you think about Major League Baseball trying to take the teams that got the reparations or got the free labor and built up tremendous wealth, they're trying to ferret out and make it more egalitarian with the teams that were robbed or the teams that lost revenue. Reparations the same thing, and people say, oh, but see, reparations in sports, come on, man. Well, a lot of these sports leagues, when they want a new stadium, you know they go to the taxpayers. They go to the taxpayers. And then you spend your money to go to the stadiums. The federal government has the money to pay descendants of child slavery. Baseball is asking the federal government and the cities to help give us money to build a stadium. And oftentimes the cities would do it. And then only the very wealthy can go to these games. And then when it comes to saying it's time for reparations, if you help give reparations to billionaires, why do you turn a blind eye to giving reparations to descendants of child slavery? So what happens to CBT money? The rules regarding the use of CBT money have changed over the years. Prior to the current CBA, a large portion of CBT money was used to fund player pensions and benefits, and the rest was distributed equally to non-CBT paying teams. The union did not like that because it gave teams incentive to keep payroll under the CBT threshold. And what you got to realize, baseball is using taxpayer money to build stadiums that most people can't even afford a game. And when it comes to reparations, I would hope that baseball can get behind the push for reparations, because they've learned how to go to the public and get money from the public to build a stadium that most of the people in the community can't go to. Prior, the rules regarding the use of CBT money have changed over the years. A large portion of CBT money was used to fund player pensions and benefits, and the rest distributed equally. That's important. The first $3.5 million is used to fund player benefits. 50% of the remainder is used to fund player pensions. The rest is distributed to teams that do not pay CBT and meet certain local revenue growth. For this year, half the CBT money collected will go to teams losing local revenue from television. It's unclear what happens to the other half, though it seems likely a big chunk of it will still go unused to fund player benefits and pensions. Give that some praise. May lightning strike! As we get ready for the Olympics in Paris, there are sports teams and sports leagues asking the local municipalities to give money to build a stadium. That's what happened in Oakland. They were asking the Alameda County to put up some money to build a new stadium for the A's. And when the Oakland and Alameda County said, well, we're not going to do that, they had a big owner from Las Vegas come in and offer $2 billion. They said, okay, we'll take the $2 billion. In the meantime, until they build a stadium, they're going to play in Sacramento. next year, or this year, but next season. They're going to figure out a way to get the money. Why not do the same thing for descendants of child of slavery? No one's protesting baseball. No one's saying it's not the right thing to do. And that's why I say with the Big C Sports Podcast, I hope that we can all figure out the right thing to do when it comes to the Big C Sports Podcast. Promoting reparations now, reparations forever. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. May lightning strike. I'm doing the best I can with the Big C Sports Podcast. I really want to be the vanguard for pushing reparations. I hope that the Olympics will be successful in Paris, France, and I know that Major League Baseball is doing whatever they can to help the teams that are being left behind, because a fist is stronger than a finger. If the United States government could do the same thing for descendants of child of slavery, all the money that was stolen, the land that was stolen, the lives that were taken, you can repair that if you want to. The executive order. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As I always tell you on every Big C Sports Podcast, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber, you can call Lyft, you can walk it off, you can sleep it off. But don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of a car and start driving after they've been drinking. The life you save may be your own, or someone you love, or someone who loves you, or someone that's loved by somebody else. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As my beautiful mother always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever go through that garbage on their own. You need more LEADA in your life. LEADA is an acronym for love is the answer. If somebody's smacking you, only smacks you because you make me mad. Pick up the phone, call 911. If someone's kicking you, only kicks you because you make me mad. Pick up the phone, call 911. If somebody's choking you out, only chokes you because you made me mad. Pick up the phone, call 911. Things change when the police show up. If anybody loves you, they don't hit you. If anybody loves you, they don't kick you. If anybody loves you, they don't choke you out, and then they want to see if you give them a second chance. Call 911 and get away from that. Fool! Are you out of your fucking mind? Pick up the phone and call 911. Don't let anyone do that to you. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you on every Big C Sports Podcast, I love paying homage to my beautiful family legacy. On my mother's side, my great-grandparents, Mama and Pop. Pop was a former Major League Baseball player for the Negro Leagues. And then Mama, beautiful, loving, kind woman, made the best collard greens in the history of the universe. Known for saying, boy, go get me a Swiss. If you don't get your hands out of that pot of collard greens, I told you get a spoon. Okay, Grandma, but I'm hungry now. I ain't got time for a spoon. My belly's hungry now. She said, boy, go get a spoon and get a plate full of those collard greens. I love my mom, my great-grandma. My body is so... Oh, Lord have mercy. And then my beautiful grandparents, Muddy and Hezekiah, they were wonderful people. They were seers. They could oftentimes look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. I love them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then I can always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and also coaching all boys Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. Always saying rise and shine. The best person I ever met in my life. All the time, my mom, the cook so good, she be cooking those ribs on the grill. And you know how little boys are. We go out there and try to take our dirty hands and grab some meat off the grill. She said, boy, put that meat back on the grill. It's not done yet. I said, Mama, I want to eat now. I'm hungry. She said, boy, take that hands off of that grill. You're going to burn your fingers. I said, Mama, I don't need a plate. I'm hungry now. And then we burn our hands. She said, did I tell you don't touch the fire? Well, I love my mama with all my body and soul. And the food was so good, it was worth it. You know it's worth it. Mama, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. You know my praise. I always love praising God like you always said. On my father's side, I want to give praise to my grandparents, Albert and Alberta Curry. They were pastors. They had 3 churches. They also owned 2 gas stations. They had 40 acres of land as well. I was 8 years old walking through the hallway in Oakland about 10 o'clock at night. I was on my way to get some cookies. It was dark in the house, but I felt somebody touch me on my forehead. She said, what are you doing, young man, going to get some cookies? I said, well, what are you doing, Grandma? It's 10 o'clock at night. You normally go to bed at 8:30. She said, what are you doing, young man, going to get some cookies? I said, cookies and baby crap, what I'm doing, Grandma. I'm going to get my reparations. But a couple of cookies have been hurt. It's been a long week. She said, there's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak. And now I'm streaming on 29 podcast platforms. I love my grandparents with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure that planes can fly high so we can all stay safe at night. Always saying, develop your mind to its highest extent. I love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice. Sound like thunder and lightning when Thomas speak. Always saying, go forward. A voracious reader, he would say, go forward. Don't look back. You don't have much backside back there anyway. I said, wait a minute, Todd. I love my backside. He said my backside wasn't big enough, but for me, it's big enough for me. You know, we love the movie Malcolm X, but we also love Pulp Fiction. In that scene that I think about oftentimes when I talk to God about my prayers, that scene before the big fight with Ben Rames talking to Bruce Willis, it had Sam Jackson and John Travolta in the movie as well. He said, come here, boy. He said, take this money. And he said, your butt goes down in the 5th round. Say that butt. And so Bruce Willis said, okay, my butt goes down in the 5th round. And he told him, that stinging sensation you feeling, well, that's just pride flopping with you. And he told him like Captain Kirk told Darth Vader. He said, flop pride. He said, pride only hurts. It never helps. Now you're going to take this money and you're going to thank Uncle Marsalis when you're chilling in the Caribbean, because boxing's filled with a lot of unrealistic muddly bluckers who think their butt gets better with time, like fine wine, but it don't. In the words of Vinegar, did it do. You're going to thank Uncle Marsalis when you're chilling on the Caribbean. But we know Bruce Willis didn't take the money, and he lost his LA privileges. That's my story that I'm taking with it. And then love Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful daughter, Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors, and 3.5 years from a major university. Daisy, you can be anything you want. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Daisy said at the very first interview for Big C Sports Podcast back in the days of Salem Median, it became the first time in the history of the United States that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network because of 2 black men in the crew. Daisy, you made that happen. You can be anything you want to be. Trust God, Isaiah 50:17. Never let any weapon formed against you prosper. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College graduate, very smart, erudite, a good man. Malcolm, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. You can be anything you want to be. Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always get newspapers to look up stats on players and teams for Big C Sports Podcast. One day, Malcolm said, Dad, why don't you just Google it? And a light bulb went off. I've been Googling ever since, now on 29 podcast platforms, streaming on 4 TV platforms. One day, Malcolm said, Dad, you want to see Big C Sports on TV? I said, sure. He said, pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say, play Big C Sports. You see a show come up. That's before it was even on the air. And shortly after that, you can find it streaming on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Malcolm, you can be anything you want. Always trust God, Isaiah 50:17, that no weapon formed against you ever prosper. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then Big C, with all that wealth of knowledge over the years, like my great granddaddy coming out of that barn, always saying you gotta believe, you gotta believe, you gotta believe. Say, let's get ready to rumble. I love to say welcome to the show. SB nominated Big C Sports Podcast. I have no scripts. I have no three-bit teleprompters. I have no producer in my ear. All I have was this gland in the brain called the pineal gland. The ancients called it the third eye. They say that's how we talk to God, and that's why I scream so loud so God can hear me. God, you hear me? You know what I'm saying, God. As I give you praise, I love God with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Well, that's my story, and I'm taking with it, as I say on every Big C Sports Podcast. Back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. And every time I listen to Big C Sports, I want to champion reparations now, reparations forever. And then I float like a butterfly, and I sting like a bee. Well, that's my story, and I'm taking with it. I'm going to say this because it means a lot to me, especially with the Olympics starting tomorrow. I want to honor the inimitable Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and also America's 16th President, Abraham Lincoln. You know, they always chanted to do the right thing, and it's time for this country as we get ready for the Olympics. It's time to do the right thing. I have my own thoughts on what the right thing is, and I'm going to say it on Big C Sports Podcast. I want to say let's honor them by championing, just like we cheer for our countries in the Olympics. Let's champion reparations at last. Reparations at last. Thank God Almighty. Reparations at last. Let's chant it a little bit louder so they can hear it all across the universe. Reparations at last. Reparations at last. Thank God Almighty. Reparations at last. Say it like we just won the gold medal. Reparations at last. Reparations at last. Thank God Almighty. Reparations at last. I thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope that you have a super fantastic day.